This is the story of the elves and the shoemaker. Once upon a time, there was a kind old shoemaker. He lived with his wife above his workshop. Though the shoemaker worked very hard, he was very poor. At last the day came when he had no more money to buy leather. There was only enough leather on his workbench to make one more pair of shoes. With a heavy heart, the shoemaker cut out the leather. He was very tired, so he left the leather on his workbench and went upstairs to bed.
"I will make the shoes in the morning,"
he told his wife. The next morning, when the shoemaker came downstairs, he had a big surprise. There on his workbench was a brand new pair of shoes, the most beautiful shoes he had ever seen. He picked up the shoes and looked at them carefully, top to bottom and heel to toe.
"Look at those tiny neat stitches. Not a single stitch out of place. These shoes are so fine they'll fetch a very high price."
He put the shoes in his window right at the front, where everyone could see them. Very soon the door opened, and in strode a handsome, well-dressed young man.
Good morning, sir. I would like to try on the shoes in the window. They are the finest I have ever seen.
The shoes fit the man perfectly, and he paid a very good price for them.
Thank you. I will tell all my friends what an excellent craftsman you are.
Now that he had some money, the shoemaker was able to buy more leather, enough to make 2 pairs of shoes. Once again, he cut out the leather and left it on the workbench.
"There'll be plenty of time to make the shoes tomorrow morning,"
he said, as he and his wife climbed the stairs to bed. Early the next morning, the shoemaker came down to his workshop, ready to start work. But once more, a surprise was waiting for him. There on his workbench were 2 pairs of fine, well-made shoes.
"I can't believe my eyes. Did I make these shoes in my sleep?"
He put the shoes in his window, and before even an hour had passed, he had sold both pairs for a very fine price indeed.
"Now I can buy enough leather to make 4 pairs of shoes,"
the shoemaker told his wife. The next morning, when the shoemaker came down to his workshop, there on his workbench were 4 pairs of beautiful, shiny new shoes. Just as before, they were perfectly made, with not a stitch out of place. And just as before, the shoemaker sold all of them for a very good price. He bought even more leather, cut out 5 pairs of shoes, and left the leather on his workbench. Of course, when he came down the next morning, there were 5 pairs of shoes, all perfectly made. The same thing happened the next day, and the day after.